I guess the one shining moment was actually just in the first round. Illinois loses to Kentucky. Let's talk about it. Welcome to another edition of From Beyond Champaign. I'm Cody. You can follow me on all the socials at Cody_CHGO. And I actually linked the link tree in my description of the YouTube video for the first time ever, it feels like. I always say that I need to remember to put it there. And today, I actually remembered to put it there. Maybe it's because I'm going to start finally holding myself to a higher standard on this YouTube channel. But more on that later in the show. Illinois loses 84-75. To Kentucky. I swear it was 86-75. Maybe they changed the score. Whatever. They lost. They lost in the round of 32 to Kentucky. Maybe I read the score wrong. I don't know. I'm just looking at what ESPN is telling me right now. Anyway, man, a painful loss, my friends. A painful loss. I didn't go live right after the show. And I honestly, this entire season, I really didn't have the time to. Yesterday or on Friday, we went live with Sam Bolber from Locked On Cubs, who's a huge Illini fan, right after the game. This one, I was going to. And then I was just so frustrated. Like I personally needed some time. I personally needed some time. And this is the cool thing about doing this on the side while doing CHGO Cubs as my full-time job. After every loss, it's not my decision to go live right after the game, but it's part of it's part of the job. It's what I'm supposed to do. It's what I have to do. But this, I guess I get to control how I want to do things. And that's the cool thing, because if I would have came on here right after the game, I probably would have said some things that I would regret. I've had a little bit of time here to kind of decompress and come up with some thoughts. And I also did want to listen to Brad talk after the game. And, Tommy and Kylan talked a little bit as well. And so I guess we can just start with reactions. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about a few players. I want to talk about Brad. I want to talk about the future. I want to talk about, I don't know, how you guys are feeling. So let me know how you're feeling in this one in the chat. Hit the like button and subscribe if you're new here. Yeah. And also, if you hear a dog barking, she's just going crazy because someone is opening the door of my apartment building. Just to put that out there. So, reactions. I find myself very frustrated because I feel like if they don't start the game the way they did in the first half and the second half, I don't know if they win, but man, the score is a lot different. That's how I feel. Do I feel like they blew it? No, I don't think they blew it. I think Kentucky played a great game, and, their best player played a really good second half and couldn't stop them in the second half. So I'm not sitting here saying that they blew it or, the refs screwed them or they, what I'm not making excuses for anything. Illinois lost the game. They deserved to lose the game. And that's frustrating. What's even more frustrating is I feel like they had a great chance to win this game. That's what's frustrating. I thought they had a great chance to win this game, even at halftime. Well, you're down 5 at halftime. Should have been 3 if Will Riley and Jake Davis trip over each other. Whatever happened, which in turn fouled a guy. 3 free throws. He gets to shoot a couple free throws, extend the lead right before half. Whatever. I felt like they played their best They played their best part of the game in the final 10 minutes of the first half and probably the final 5 minutes of the second half. I can't even say the full second half, like even half of the second half, they were that good. They couldn't stop them. We were at the 8-minute mark and they're still double digits behind. So all in all, just not a good game. And I'm just frustrated, man. I'm frustrated with the season. I'm frustrated with I can't even put it into words. I'm frustrated with the season. I'm frustrated with how the season played out. And I'm disappointed in the fact that we couldn't get back to the Sweet 16. I'm really disappointed that we didn't get there. That's the standard. That's the standard that Brad Underwood has set. Actually, the standard that Brad Underwood has set is national championships. But we know they're not going to win the national championship every year. Hell, we've never actually really seen one, right? But you get what I mean. The standard is to get to the second weekend, and they didn't. Now, on the flip side, you can say, well, considering where this team was a month ago, would this be a win? Absolutely. Absolutely. You lose by 43 against Duke. We all thought they might not make the tournament. And here they win a game. They beat Xavier on Friday and came in with a little bit of house money against Kentucky. And I don't know. I just feel like they kind of flopped. Like they kind of just gave it away. Kentucky came out with more energy. Kentucky came out with more intensity. Kentucky did all the things that they do well. They scored the ball. They hit threes. They didn't turn the ball over. Illinois did all the things that we all sat here and pulled our hair out all season. Turn the ball over. Missed some free throws, some big free throws and big moments. And they shot 9 of 32 from three, which, whatever. They took 33s against Xavier. I don't care that they shot 32 threes. 12 and 19 from the free throw line. You lost by 9. I'm just saying, I don't know. 14 turnovers. It's not good. You can't do that in March. Just can't. So that's my basic reaction is I just feel very disappointed. Despite where we were a month ago, I am disappointed. And I find myself scratching my head on what went wrong with this team. And we can talk more about that. But I want to save a lot of that more towards the end. So let me know how you feel, and I'll get to it. Brad in post game, I felt the disappointment. I could feel it through watching his post game. I feel like if there's any team that maybe he feels like when he looks back on his coaching career, he might look at this team as one that he's thinking, what if? That's how he came off, at least. I'm not necessarily sitting here agreeing with him, but he definitely came off as like, man, like I really loved coaching this team, and I really felt like it had a real legitimate shot to do something in March. And it just didn't transpire that way. And there are many reasons behind that. I would say, the inconsistencies in mid to late January going into February, and this team's health, whether it was an injury or illness, whatever, like those things all play a factor. They were just a very inconsistent team with a very high ceiling and a very low floor. I saw a tweet. I bookmarked it on Twitter. That Illinois ranked bookmarks, Cody. This is from Evan Miyakawa. I hope I was saying his name right, but he tweeted Illinois is 359th in consistency at his website, evanmia.com, which means they're one of the top 5 most volatile teams from game to game. You never know what you're going to get. Yes, they were very Jekyll and Hyde-like. straight up said that the game of Xavier was their best game since Oregon, the Oregon win. And then this game, I wouldn't say this was the worst game, but they're Jekyll and Hyde. You just don't know what you're going to get. And that leads you to a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of questioning of what team you're going to get. And yeah, so I thought I'd throw that one out there. I don't really know who that guy is, and maybe I should get to know who he is. Whatever. I had never seen a tweet. Someone retweeted it to me, and I saw it on my timeline. So yeah, that's the story of the season, really, right? They're just so inconsistent. But I feel like Brad is always going to think. Brad himself is always going to think that this team had a deep run in them, and if the stars had aligned in the way that he visioned, so anyway, Brad is Brad, and we can sit here and discuss Brad all want. I truly don't want to. But yeah, this is kind of like what we're doing, man. I think Brad's job is safe. I think like there's really nothing to really discuss. I honestly don't even think Brad's the reason they lost the game. You know, like I think Brad has issues in terms of in-game coaching. I think Brad isn't perfect, all those things, but I also think that he's put this program in a really great spot. And so, yeah, we need to see more March success. But I think, like I said a month ago, I'm not sure if we would have thought that they would even be in this position. So there's a lot to reflect on, and we have all offseason to do that. So, anyway, now player-wise, I think we have to start with Kylan Boswell, man. Kylan Boswell, he grew a ton this season as a leader, and he had a great game. He basically carried Illinois in this game. 23 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, and he was 2 of 5 from 3. You know, I thought in the first half he definitely kept them afloat, but they were definitely going to need Will Riley and Kasparas to kind of get them over the top if they were going to win the game in the second half, and they just didn't. Even though Kasparas' stat line, I mean, he scored 13 points, but it took 13 shots. You know, he had more turnovers. He had more turnovers than assists. He had 6 turnovers again. It's just, it was frustrating. And I'll talk more about Kasparas, but with Kylan, at least, I mean, he did everything. And I feel very confident that Kylan's going to be here next year. I don't know why he would want to leave. I think he loves this program, and I'm really excited to see who all is back for next year. But I just think Kylan really grew as a leader. The narrative behind him whenever he transferred to Illinois was that he didn't show up in big games or whatever, you know, like that he just wasn't, he would just disappear in big games. And it's not even just this game. Not only was he awesome in this game, he was awesome in the Xavier game. He was awesome after the Duke loss. I think there was some growing pains along the way. I think that, you know, there were times throughout the season where he did kind of disappear. But I feel like when Brad questioned the leadership on the team, I want to say after the Duke loss, like in postgame, when he questioned the leadership on the team, it's almost like he kind of took control of that. And, you know, he finished the season strong, and he is not the reason that they lost this game. He's, you know, he's a guy that is going to be very, very easy to support moving forward, not only just because he's from Champaign, but I just think he does everything so well. He's one of the best on-ball defenders in college basketball, and I'm not just saying that because Brad says it. I think it's fact. He showed that against Xavier on Friday. You know, the whole team defense as a whole today was not very good, but I felt like he did his best in certain matchups, and I just felt like he gave his best effort, and he did everything you could have asked for in a game like this on the big stage. And so going into next year, I am excited to see how he develops after another year within the program, and I expect him to be a massive leader in 2025 or 2020 or 2025, 2026. So I thought Tommy had another nice game, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 5 of 12 from 3. Definitely hit some big shots along the way. I don't know if I want our center taking 12 3-pointers, but when you make 5 of them, I'll live with it. And he definitely kept them in the game. I think him and Merez Johnson, were solid. Merez 7 rebounds. He had a few big buckets as well. Those are probably the 3 guys. And so with Tre White, the box score, 8 points, 7 rebounds, nothing crazy. Missed all his 3-point shots. If he would have hit that 1-3 inside 3 minutes of the game, when they were like kind of making that comeback where like I was going to get real delusional into thinking we were like going to make the comeback. He just missed it. And I felt like in that moment, that's when the game was over. So yeah, that sucked. that sucked. The game itself sucked. So yeah, that's kind of like my thoughts on the players. As far as the game itself, if you want to talk outside of the turnovers in the first half and the second half, that at the beginning of each half, like if there are moments in the game where if this goes one way or another, maybe things are different. It's very clearly, and before I say this, I am not saying this is why they lost the game. However, in the moment where Kasparas pump faked to shoot that 3 and whoever from Kentucky came across bit on the pump fake and he came down and Kasparas shot the 3, he absolutely got fouled, and it ended up getting like he lost the ball and it went out of bounds, and it technically goes down as a turnover for Kasparas. But if you watch the replay enough times, which I know it's all over Illini Twitter right now, he was objectively, if you just objectively watch it, it was a foul. And so all I'm saying is in that moment, if they call the foul there, like they probably should have, gets 3 free throws. And who knows what happens after that. I'm not saying that's why they lost the game, but it is one of those plays that's like, you should probably get that one right. So that's probably my one, like, what if this happened play at the end of the game. This was like in the final minute and a half or so, right? I'm looking at it. Yeah, Kasparas, he turned it over at the 1 minute mark. And they gave Garrison a steal for it. Yeah. That at the time it was 76-68. So Illinois was down 8 points. He hits all 3 free throws. It's a 5-point game with a minute to go. I'm just saying that not saying they're going to come back and win. Just saying that it was certainly a moment, and who knows? So, yeah, man, this game just, I find myself sitting here wondering what if they didn't turn the ball over as much as they did. But I'm also sitting here like, I feel like I've just been saying what if all season. I also feel like at the same time that maybe I just had too high hopes. I won't even say expectations. I think I was just too delusional throughout the year. And that's me. Everyone knows this. If you know me, if we've talked before, you know me. I get too optimistic. I know I do. And that's what makes the failures hurt so much more. But it's just I don't find it worth watching if you're not going to have hope. I really don't. Why watch if you're not going to have hope? There's a reason I haven't watched the Bulls in a long time, like on a consistent level, because they don't give me a reason to want to watch, first off, but also it's just like they're not good, and they haven't been good since they traded Derrick Rose. I'm just using them as an example. And I grew up a huge Bulls fan. Illinois gives me a reason to want to watch them every game, and it hasn't always been like that before Brad Underwood. And so over this era of basketball that we've had, I've tried my darnest to embrace it and enjoy it and love it and try and, have an optimistic outlook on a lot of things, because I know how it was. So, yeah, when you get these losses, it fucking sucks, man. Fucking sucks. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Kobe Bray for Kentucky just absolutely owned us in the second half. Lamont Butler, you can tell he is experienced, showed that coming from San Diego State. And that I think at the end of the day, that's just, this team just didn't have a good mixture of youth and older players, like, sure, maybe Tre White, Kylan, but Kylan's like 19 years old, man. And Tre White's it's not like he came from like a great program. He came from Louisville before Louisville was revived this year. It just, they were very, very, very young, and they needed more veteran leadership. I think they'll have more of that next year. It just sucks though, because we know Will Riley and Kasparas, Jakucionis aren't coming back. And what pisses me off about, wow, some crazy stuff going on outside. Sorry. It pisses me off about Kasparas is that, like, he kind of ended his what let's just assume, right? Basically kind of ended his Illini career on a down point. And I don't necessarily think Illini fans are going to look at him in a good light once he goes to the NBA. Like, it's not like they're going to root against him or anything, but like, they're not going to view him. They're not even going to view him like they viewed like Trent Frazier or trying to think, even like we'll talk about 1 year guys. They won't view him like Marcus Domask or anyone like that, like even though the fact that he is straight up better than them and he was better for Illinois, you just look at numbers, probably it's just a one and done who came through and he kind of flopped in a way. I don't necessarily think he flopped, but he certainly did not give what we all hoped for this year in terms of the team. I think he showed a lot of potential at the next level. Like, there is so much potential for him in the NBA, but I think a lot of fans, after those first couple months, a lot of fans for sure increased their expectations. And when things didn't go well, especially in Big Ten play, and basically to this point, I think he's kind of headed out in like a negative outlook. I won't say it's like a Matthew Mayer, but I just don't think people are going to be talking about Kasparas in 5 years, except if he's like an NBA all-star, like one of the best players in the league. And we all just say, it's like, yeah, Illini legend, like one of those things. Let me know if you think I'm wrong on that. Would love to know. Let's go to some comments. I know there's plenty of them in here, and I normally read them all, but I kind of wanted to go in order on this show a little bit. Jason Long, I always hate this part. I love my Illini. Bleed orange and blue no matter what. I know, man. Absolutely sucks. Demetrius Payne. Yep, this is Payne. Jay, this team is pretty simple to predict. Get off to a good start, and this team is pretty good. Get off to a bad start, and this team folds. Seeing it all here. Unfortunately, you are absolutely correct, Jay. That is what we got. Jason, this is hard. Here to support. I appreciate you, Jason. Philip, this team didn't have a true leader most of the season. When Brad has had a true leader, the team is so much more consistent. Yeah. And that's like, I think Kylan will be that guy next year. And I feel like Kylan did kind of step into that role after the Duke loss. I wish it would have happened earlier, but it is what it is. Sonny, what's up, man? 25 to 12 difference in the first 5 minutes of each half. I didn't know that, but that sounds about right. Ugh. Those first halves, man. The first 5 minutes of each of those halves, just brutal. Philip, Io, Trent, Kofi, TSJ, true leaders. We need a true leader on the team. I may be optimistic, but I think DGL has that kind of personality if given the chance. I will say Brad did play Dre Gibbs Lawhorn a little bit more tonight. And I did see him tweet after the game, just appreciation and stuff. We'll see if he transfers out. I don't think he's going to want to be a bench player next year. I wouldn't blame him if he transferred, if that's what the coaching staff basically tells him. We'll see how it plays out. Sonny from the YouTube page said the same thing. Okay. Jason, this feeling sucks. I know that. I listened to the post game and Riley said he let his team down. That is the part that stinks. Yeah. So I actually saw on Twitter, I think it was Jeremy Werner from Illini Inquirer said, I think he's tweeted along the lines that Will Riley was visibly upset after like walking off the court and stuff. So, a lot of my comments in the chat this season was a lot of like, this team doesn't care. These players don't care, and they were always specifically talking about Will Riley and Kasparas, Jakucionis, since they're freshmen and highly touted and one and done players. And, one of the things that Brad said in post game that I truly believed is that like the guys liked each other. The guys loved to play the game and they loved the team and they dedicated so much. And I believe that because if they didn't, they wouldn't have been playing in that game to begin with. I truly do believe that stuff. Brad has built a culture at Illinois, and the people who don't want to appreciate it and expect more, like I understand in some aspects, but he has built a culture there that I can absolutely support. And I still think Will Riley's going to go. He should. What else does he have to prove at the college level? Why risk millions of dollars for if an injury happens next year? The guy needs to get bigger, but just go look at Adam Fletcher's Instagram post of him. Like, yeah, I would love to see what he would look like after a full summer with Fletch, but he can go to the NBA and do the exact same thing with, someone just as good at the pro level and make millions of dollars. And I just don't see him coming back based off what we've seen the last 2.5 months and just the development. The one thing that I will take away from Will Riley's 1 year at Illinois is the growth from the very first game we watched him when he dropped 30 against Eastern Illinois. Shout out my alma mater. But when he dropped the 30 against them to this point today, even though this was a bad game, he grew so much as a basketball player. And he's still so young. So if he develops like this over the next couple years at the pro level, this guy could be a stud. He could be in the all-star conversation at the NBA level based off what I watched with him and his ability to score the basketball. So he had a handful of no-shows, a couple of 0-point stat sheets, but he also had a lot of great games that helped Illinois win. And you could just see the potential. And if we luck out and he comes back for sophomore season, I mean, that will change my entire outlook on how good I think Illinois can be next year. I think they can be really good next year. I think they certainly could, we'll be talking about Sweet 16, Elite 8, maybe more. once we find the roster out, even with just the guys that they have now, because they will have more experience next year. If Kylan and Tommy and Morez Johnson and Tre White are here, like if those 4 guys are here and DGL, like I feel really good about the potential of that team with whoever else they add. Oh, and Ben Humrickhouse. Ben Humrickhouse can stay too. If that core of guys come back next year, and whatever happens with Kerry Booth, who knows, right? Those guys come back next year and Will Riley comes back too. And then they go out into the transfer portal, stuff like that. Like there's things, but there's things that can really make me dream, right? But again, I just don't think he's going to be here. I think he's going to go to the NBA, and I think it's the smart decision from him individually. So, Philip, Senior Boswell, Senior Boswell, I think he's talking about his dad. Senior Boswell could become the leader, but I don't think the ceiling is very high with that. Yeah, it just depends on who else is on the roster, right? But they need a guy that just kind of. I understand what you mean by it, because like TSJ was the leader and Io was leader, and those guys, those guys in the NBA. I don't know if Kylan can be an NBA player, but all I know is that he became a better basketball player in his 1 year at Illinois than he was at Arizona. So sometimes it might take time, but we'll see. See, Joe said Kylan came on the last few weeks as a leader. Yeah, Jay, need a couple of athletic guys who can own their own shot and play defense. I agree. Absolutely. The defense needs some work on this team, that's for sure. Jason, I think I know a lot will disagree. With a young team, practice time is so huge. The sickness this year was my big thing. I just imagine what would have happened fully healthy. Yeah, no fan's going to want to hear that, Jason, especially on a day like today. Hell, even I don't necessarily want to hear it. I do think it played a factor. I'm not saying that it didn't matter, but I am saying that it was always an excuse that just got overplayed to our ears so much. And so that is what it is. I will say that I will agree with you when it comes to practice time, though. The practice time stuff certainly played a factor. And when it comes to the illness and stuff like that, not being able to practice, I will agree with you on that. But there were many moments throughout this year where it just, Brad could have changed some things up, could have changed the defense up some, could have put Will Riley. Let me say that again. Could have put Will Riley in the starting lineup earlier in the season. I'm not saying it had to be at the beginning of the year. I'm not saying it had to be in December, but in January at some point or early February, I think you can make that argument. Jason, honest question. Did we underperform or were we overrated? Ooh. Let's go back to November. Back in November, if you go listen to this show, I said something along the lines of like, they have a high ceiling. I don't know where the floor is, though. They have a lot of talent. They're playing a really strong schedule. So my thought process was, if they play well in some of these non-conference games, specifically against the SEC, and you see gradual growth from that point forward, that perhaps they could be a Sweet 16, Elite 8 team again. Part of me wants to say that we were overrated. Part of me wants to say that they underperformed, because when I say underperform, I'm just wondering what if a lot. Like, what if, this team would have shot the ball like it was capable of? Like, a lot of people online are probably talking about how they need to fire Tyler Underwood or move on from him because the offense sucks for whatever reason. They shot too many threes. They were near they were top 10 in 3-point attempts in the nation, and then they didn't make a lot of them, right? The thing is that, like, to me, they did a lot of this last year too. Like Brad wants this type of offense. He wants to shoot a lot of threes. I do think that in some aspects, yes, they took a lot of threes that they probably shouldn't have throughout the season, but also they are looking at things analytically, and they want to be a 3-point. They want to shoot a lot of threes, and they want to move. They want to play fast, and like I just don't see the offense changing much, like scheme wise, going into next year. Maybe defensively, but I just don't see the offense changing. So it's like, to bring it back, because they didn't shoot well this year, did they underperform? I mean, Kylan Boswell, who I just gave his flowers to, the one thing that for the year that I still won't understand is how much he regressed 3-point shooting wise. Except for the last the last month of the year, he shot the ball well, right? But for the majority of the season, he did not shoot the ball well, and he was like a 35 to 40% 3-point shooter at Arizona. So what? Like they're gonna need him to be a better 3-point shooter next season, right? They're going to need the entire team to be a better 3-point shooting team in 2025, 2026. My heart says they underperformed, Jason, but I think people on the outside would say that Illinois was overrated. And I think I can agree with some aspect of it. I don't have a full answer for you. I'm sorry. Jay says, got to somehow get a team that doesn't have to play drop coverage. I hate that defense. Yeah. They did kind of change it going to that Iowa game after the Duke loss. They did hedge a little bit more. I agree. I'm not big on the drop coverage defense. There's got to be some form of change there. Like I said, I think the defensive schemes could be different. Next year, maybe a new coach in that realm comes in. Yeah. Let's see. That's where I come back to the coaching question. Is that his fault when it comes to, this is from Jason. He says, did we underperform or were we overrated? Yeah, I mean, if it comes talking about the coach, talking about Brad, at least with that, I mean, Brad himself literally said that he thought he could win the national title with this team. So on optics alone, or not optics, but on what he said alone, they probably were overrated, I guess. Yeah. Jason Long, not Brad's fault. I would say maybe team makeup, yes, but Brad needs to work better in game. But the sickness all year and injuries, he worked with what he could. And that's fair too. I think it's not black or white with that question. I think. Agree. If we keep getting talent and underperforming, the question will persist. That's all I'll say. I agree. Listen, the one thing that's always going to hang on Brad from fans is just lack of March success. Now, he got to Elite Eight last year. You've won at least one NCAA tournament game every year except for 2022, 2023. I think more fans wouldn't be so critical if we just got to a second weekend every year. And listen, that's my standard. That's why at the beginning of the show I said that I was disappointed, even though I can certainly sit here and make the argument that a month ago I didn't think that this would happen. So this year will go down as one of the more like bizarre seasons to describe to my friends and family, to my kids one day, like my kids that are not currently living because they're not conceived. Like if I had to sit down and tell them a bedtime story about the 2024-2025 Illinois Fighting Illini men's basketball team, this one's a roller coaster, man. This one's a roller coaster. One of the bigger roller coasters of my life. So, Jason, Kylan is a similar situation to TSJ. Had his best year so far between Arizona and Illinois. I think we develop players very well. I understand the sentiment there. You know, TSJ, he had some issues in year one with Illinois, but then obviously had like one of the greatest single seasons ever, if not the year after. So, I think TSJ, a completely different animal in terms of athleticism. Kylan, better 3-point shooter, can drive the basket, uses his size well. I don't know if we're going to be talking about him being first team All-American next year, but I do think that he'll be one of the better players in the Big Ten. What else we got here? We got a lot of comments in here. I appreciate y'all for being in here. Illini didn't get any favorable calls. Number one, let's be honest. That's fair. I don't try to. The only game that I feel like I blame the refs in this year was that Michigan State. But yeah, I do think that at the very end of the game they didn't get the calls they needed to make the comeback. But that's due to their own fault. I don't really know how I would grade the refs in this game. There's just so many moments when you felt like Illinois was going to make a little bit of a run, and then they wouldn't get a rebound, and they would put it back. Illinois lost they somehow won the rebounding game, but I feel like they didn't get enough rebounds, if that makes any sense. 9 offensive rebounds, they had 12. Like, it's actually kind of confusing. I'm actually surprised by the stat. I felt like Kentucky in many ways out-rebounded Illinois, even though they statistically didn't. There were moments throughout the game where you needed to get a stop to get back into the game, and then they wouldn't, and that would be a big part in it. Pat, he says KJ and Will to the NBA, DGL, Ty Rogers, Ben Humrickhouse, and Kerry Booth. I want to say Calvin. Kerry Booth transferring out. Kylan, Tre, Merez, Ivisic, Davis, and KJ staying, or not KJ. I still haven't learned to say this guy's name, but yes, the other guy staying. My guess anyway. I would tend to agree with most of that. I do think Humrickhouse could be back. But I don't expect to see Kerry Booth. And I definitely don't expect to see Ty Rogers. Now, DGL is kind of I think it comes down to like, does Illinois want to let him be a starter next year? And if he wants to start, I could see him going. Where he would go, I don't know. But I do think that based on how Illinois builds the roster, I just don't see DGL being a starter. So if he does transfer out, I won't necessarily be mad at Illinois. I just think this year had so many great moments for him, but here at the end of the year, he didn't do a lot of anything. And largely because he didn't get a lot of minutes because everyone else was playing better than him. I don't know. I don't expect Illinois to tell him that they'd be willing to let him start games next year. So, yeah. Is DGL really a starter in the Big Ten? He'd be better at a smaller school, in my opinion. Yeah. I think he's a really good driver to the basket for his size. Absolutely. I think he's an athlete. But, yeah, I tend to agree with your thought there, Jay. Like, I don't know if he's a starter in the Big Ten. So it comes down to like if he wants to start. If he wants to start, I think he might have to go, down a level. I would guess. I don't know. I would love for him to stay though. I really do. If he wants to embrace being a bench player, I really would love to see him be here. Because I just think he's a great culture guy and he brings so much energy to the team. Yeah, that's basically how I feel. Someone I called Joe, their name is actually Joey, and I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm so sorry. Let's see what else. I think I got them all to this point. So I don't know, guys. I'm just very deflated after this one and sad. But I have good news. The good news is that we're all going to come back and watch this team again next year and have excitement, and there will be hope and there will be optimism, because that is the culture that Brad Underwood has set. That is the truth. There will undoubtedly be hope and optimism come November. And I know everyone will be fully locked in on Illinois football next year. And I think even I will be even more locked in on Illinois football than I normally am next year, with all the hype they're getting right now. And I am excited about them. So, yeah, it sucks right now. All right. Other stuff. We are 45 minutes in, so it's a good time to get to this. So I just want to say, again, I appreciate y'all for always tuning in and watching. I will admit the views for this YouTube channel were down this year compared to year one, and it was largely just because I was unable to go live after every game, and I was unable to do shows even on the days of games at times. So I think that's my own fault. I think a lot of people move on faster. I think the YouTube algorithm didn't necessarily help me out with that. So I think what I'm about to say goes in with that. This is officially just going to be in Illinois, like, YouTube channel. Still mostly basketball, but I'm going to be putting a lot more off-season stuff on here this off-season, related to transfer portal and stuff. It might not be the first thing that comes out, but I will always have thoughts. I will always be willing to listen to people's takes on certain guys who are coming to the program or leaving the program, stuff like that. Last off-season, I think I may have put up 2 or 3 videos, and one of them was related to Terrence Shannon and the whole his case that he was dealing with. The other was Will Riley signing with Illinois, and I think the other one was related to Jeremiah Fierce. I think so. I just want to say that this offseason there will be a lot more content on here. It might not be on the day of, because my full-time job takes over the summer for me, but there will be more Illini content on here. So yeah, that, and I've been thinking about this for months. I'm going to start a new Twitter account just strictly for Illinois. A large part of my Twitter following likes the Cubs, and there are a lot of Illini Cubs fans out there, but I think there are a lot of Cubs fans out there who don't like Illinois, and they probably get annoyed when I'm tweeting about Illinois. So I'm just going to start a new Twitter account. I'm going to drop that information when I build it, when I create it, probably tomorrow, and I will put it out there for everyone to follow if they want to go follow it. But there's just be all Illinois content. So I know I'm in the Locked On Illini Discord, and there were some Cardinal fans already talking about, well, at least I'm ready. I'm ready to cheer on the Cardinals now, which I'm actually sorry going into this year. But I think a lot of those people probably don't follow me anywhere else other than this YouTube channel or whatever. So I think I just need to build my own Illinois Twitter account or whatever. And that way I don't have those two things colliding, because I know I think a lot of Cardinal fans do not like me, and rightfully so. I really wouldn't blame you if you don't. I can be absolutely insufferable. So those are kind of like the program announcements. So again, if you're new here and you found the show tonight or within, the last couple weeks, stick around. We'll be putting up more Illini content up throughout the off season, and again, mostly basketball. But I think I'm going to do some season grades for players. We'll follow the transfer portal and recruiting stuff all summer, and yeah, just kind of get ready for next season. And yeah, I'm excited to do that, because I just when it comes to teams in my life, it has always been the Cubs in Illinois. I love the Bears. I love the Bulls. I love all the Chicago teams, right? But the Cubs in Illinois are the only teams in my life that have actually ever really given me anything outside of the Bears going to the Super Bowl in 2006. But in a few couple Derrick Rose seasons, right? I was too young for the Jordan era. So Illinois just is a big part of my sports fandom. And so I'm determined to kind of keep building this up here and try to do more content here. So that's kind of the information on that. So we'll be putting up more content, and appreciate anyone who wants to follow along with that. What else do we got here? We got some people in the chat. Jay says, "Please, Riley, come back. We can wish." Yes. You want my Delulu to skyrocket? Will Riley says tomorrow that he's coming back, you know. Joey says Yahoo Sports is saying Danger is going to the transfer portal. Wow, he had a huge game for Memphis the other day, and then no one else decided to play well for them, so they fell apart. But we'll be supporting him no matter where he goes. He's one of my favorite Illini ever. Maybe that's kind of like what KJ will be looked at as, or even Will Riley. Like Danger was fine. He was a good player. He had some great March moments, right? But he really only had like one really good season here, right? Like, I don't know. That maybe it's not a good comparison. All right. 51 minutes in. I don't really got a lot else to say, guys. So I think tomorrow might I don't know if it'll be live, but I might put a video up just kind of looking at the season as a whole. Kind of like maybe a funeral for the team type video. And that's another thing I should say too, this offseason. I'm not sure if a lot of them will be live, but they will definitely be up. And so yeah, look out for that. But yeah, tomorrow probably do something related, just a season outlook or overlook the entire season. And yeah, so yeah. All right. I shouldn't say this was fun. This was not fun. Illinois loses 84-75 in the round of 32. I will always appreciate making the NCAA tournament. I really will. The downside is when you lose in the NCAA tournament, it never gets easier, no matter what the expectations are. No matter the expectations. I guess I can say at least we're not here as Colorado State fans, because I saw the ending to that game in Maryland. And let me tell you, that would feel absolutely worse than this. So is what it is. Tough loss to conclude a very confusing roller coaster like season. But I'm interested to see what Brad does this offseason to kind of maybe put this team in a position to be in position. I say that a lot, but you understand what I mean by that, I hope. So until we find out, I will see you all later this week. And again, I'll give you all the information. I'll put it out there for the new account. I'll probably start an Instagram account as well. So, but I'm still going to keep putting up all the clips and stuff on this YouTube channel, on my TikTok account. All that's the same. So stay tuned for all the good stuff. But yeah, Illinois loses again 84-75, and it sucked. But we were all here for therapy, and I appreciate y'all for being there for me during it. Hit that like button on your way out, and I will see you in the next video. ILL, my friends.